Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today you find me in an alleyway in Shepton Mallet. I wonder where we're going. But it's this way. Let's go and have a look. There's not a lot of room in here. As you can see, my knees are touching the front. You do have a window to look out of, but I'd imagine you'd be handcuffed while you were in here, or certainly secured in some way. And now you can see there was actually another one there, but it's been removed. There's the trace of the door and the seat, just like the one I just sat on. And here's where the boss man sat, in charge of everybody with his control panel. I guess they had a panic button in each cell, I'm guessing, I don't know. But yes, fully videoed up, of course. And arriving in this, you would be transferred into this Shepton Mallet prison. Well, this is where we go in. Well, ladies and gentlemen, starting with the fabulous Paddington 2, here are a selection of the films and television programmes that have been made here at the jail. As you can see, there are quite a few of them. Quite a few of them. These are the visiting rooms when you came for a visit, I guess. So we're now going across with that siren to accompany us to the wall where they used to shoot people. Let's go and find out a bit more. That, ladies and gentlemen, under that speaker is the firing squad wall, operated by the Americans during World War II. Let's go and have a closer look. Those little white spots are where bullets hit the wall. And as I swing around, this is the view you would have got before the bullet. Well, you wouldn't have got this view because they blindfolded you, but I'm standing where these people were actually shot. Where you can see there the tarmac has been lifted and relaid was an area excavated in 2014. 7 men remain under that tarmac right there, and they can't be moved without a warrant from the King. The Queen was asked and she refused, apparently, but there are 7 men down there still. So here we are in the hard labour yard, where many of the hard tasks they were given were performed. You had things such as oakum picking, stone breaking. So this is oakum picking. Oakum picking basically meant they were unpicking old bits of rope, teasing the fibres apart so they could be reused. This used to make your fingers bleed, and it wasn't a job that people wanted to do. Stone breaking. The Victorians were desperate for building stone, and this is where large stones were sorted so they became smaller stones that could be built with. To the left on the top floor is the infirmary. We'll be going up there later. And here we are at the infirmary. As you can see, lots of work went on in here. But it did have a carpet at least. It wasn't like the rest of the prison. Floggings and birchings took place down there in the hard labour yard. If you fainted from the pain during your flogging or birching, you were brought up here from the yard down there to the infirmary, and they tended to your wounds with vinegar and brown paper and helped you to recover. And then when you recovered, you were taken back to the yard to finish your flogging or birching. Interestingly, the same guard or warder did the flogging so that everybody got the same flogging from the same person. If the warden was seen to be going easy on a prisoner, then the warden would himself face the same penalty as the prisoner. So you can believe me, they laid into it. If you were due to leave prison early, you got on a thing called parole. The parole board used to meet in this room and decide if they thought you should deserve it. If they didn't, you didn't get it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the most important thing in the prison is security. And security from the prison here was handled from this area. Let's go and have a look. Here are some of the homemade weapons found and confiscated in the prison. Even a pencil, look. Even guns, look, homemade guns. Absolutely anything in a prison that can be weaponised was weaponised. through this hole you can see down there is the entrance to the original 1600 cells. So we've got to crawl in there, so here we go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this cell is purported to be over 400 years old. You can see the door that was bricked up that I came in by, right there in front of us. If I scan down, you can see the entrance by which I came in. And through here, which you're not going to see because sadly it's very dark, but you can make out in the distance more bars of cells which basically run off in that direction over there towards more cells. Wow, this is very small. So here we are on the first floor of the Gatekeepers Lodge. As you can see, it's not massive. There is provision over there for a fire, and there is a view to the outside world, because obviously this was built into the outer wall. We'll see this outside later, but this was built into the outer perimeter wall. So if we go up these steps here, we should be able to go to the upstairs room. And here we are. And I have to tell you, it's just as dark and just as dismal up here. Although, there was a viewing window which looked upon the outside world along the wall there. So, I guess let's head back down. These appear to be holding cells, they're very small. And there's a pan round here, there's a second one. Again, very small, not much room for anything. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, entering the governor's office. This is where the head honcho sat and ran the prison from, often with an iron rod. Picture the king in the background. And here we are in the main quadrangle of the prison, or what you call an exercise yard, I guess, with the wings arranged around it. Each of those little windows was a cell. We'll be going up there to see them in a minute. We've now entered the admin building. So let's go and have a look what's in here. This is the poltergeist room. It's the telephone where they used to make calls home. If they had the privileges to call home, that is. Over there leaning on the barrel you can see the famous cat o' nine tails. I don't know why there's a photo, there's a painting of the Flying Scotsman on the wall, but It's been beautifully done, so I had to take a picture of it. So without any doubt, as you can tell by the highly polished boots, this is a military prison cell. They may be naughty boys, but they have to keep their bedroom tidy.
The Visiting Forces Act of 1942 allowed for American military justice to be enacted on British soil. This is Private David Cobb, 21 years old, who was the first American serviceman to be hanged here. This happened on the 12th of March 1943. Cobb hailed from Dothan, Alabama. He was stationed at Desborough Camp in Northamptonshire as a member of the 827th Engineer Battalion and had been on guard duty for some time during Sunday the 27th of December. When he was reprimanded by 2nd Lieutenant Robert J. Cobner, he, instead of handing up his rifle, shot the 2nd Lieutenant and killed him. He was tried by US Court Martial in Cambridge on the 6th of January 1943 and moved to Shepton Mallet for the sentence to be committed. He was duly executed by Tom and Albert Pierpoint.
Well, here we are inside a cell, and I can tell you, this is very small. You have one window up there in the wall. You have these cupboards for keeping your stuff in. You had a sink. You had a toilet. And the beds, as you can tell by the wall markings, were over there. This is not a large room. 2 men, I guess, maybe more. So we're leaving Awing now and entering D-Ring, which runs across the courtyard. So let's go and have a look. D-Wing is a slightly different construction. You don't have the open areas in front of the walls, but you do get the same rooms and the same glass. I use this a lot. And this dark, miserable place here is a cell in Awing. So as we leave D-Ring, this brings us nicely into Bwing. Again, more traditional construction, but this time with cells on both sides and the traditional area downstairs where they used to meet and play cards and stab each other, I guess. And here in Bwing, the prison cells are no bigger or better than they were anywhere else. It doesn't matter where you were, you got the same kind of room. So here we are in what was called the segregation unit, or the segregation block, or as it was known by inmates, the block. And as you can see, some of these guys clearly needed seriously locking up. You could get in here for being violent, you could get in here for trying to commit suicide, trying to escape, you'd be segregated, and it was called the block by the inmates.
This is the condemned man's cell. Prisoners spent the last 10 days of their life in here, permanently watched over by 2 prison guards, because believe it or not,
Although you were condemned to death, you weren't allowed to take your own life. The doorway here was filled by a bookcase that swung out into the execution room. At the time of the execution, a guard would remove this, the prisoner would be escorted through into the room next door. The prisoner didn't even realise they were next door to the execution room, and this would have been the first time they found out. US servicemen were hung within the first hour of the day between midnight and 1 AM, following the practice of US military tradition. The famous Thomas William Pierpoint conducted most of the hangings at Shepton Mallet prison, assisted by his nephew Albert Pierpoint. Albert Pierpoint was a hangman who executed between 435 and 600 people across a 25-year career that ended in 1956. Albert was known to not like the American system, where the condemned man was forced to listen to a list of his crimes before hanging. Albert Pierpoint preferred a more humane and faster method. Often, the time taken to leave the condemned man's cell to actually being dropped was 8 seconds. As you know, the reason I've come here is because this prison is due to close on the 2nd of January. I've done a bit of asking around while I've been here, and apparently that's because the company that runs it, that lets you in, takes your ticket, has had a bit of a disagreement with the people that own it. I don't know more than that, I didn't want to ask, but I've just been talking to one of the guides who is an ex-prison guard himself, and he says there just may be a rescue package on the table. So let's get our fingers crossed that this important place doesn't close and can stay open. Maybe with a break for them to reconvene, but let's just hope this place doesn't close and that rescue package comes too. But for now, let's carry on around the prison. This panel was actually put in 2 months ago by a film company. It's part of a film set. As you can see, they have completely matched the paint, matched the marks on the wall. It looks 100 years old, but it was put up 2 months ago for a film they were shooting in here. How amazing is that? So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, entering Seawing, one of the smaller wings. Ablution room, scene of many stabbings, or at least they are in the films. So here we are around the back of the blocks. And the brick building that you can see there, with the window inside, was actually built for the Americans during the war, and that is the outside of the execution block. That window upstairs with the light on is where they were hung. And conveniently close to the execution block and linked by a set of stairs is the morgue. So after they've done the deed, the body would be brought in here. Just like that. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is where you had your mugshot took. I've got to do it. I've got to do it. Let's look at healthcare, shall we? So this is where you'd have come to see the doctor. It would have been lit a bit better then, I guess. This is the treatment room. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of the video. We've come to the end of the tour. I hope you've enjoyed looking around this prison. I really hope that the plan to save this place comes to something. And here we are entering, oh, excuse me. And here we are, we're now entering the cafe where I am going to go and get myself a coffee. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It will be going out in the next couple of days. But for now, this is me saying ta-ta from Shepton Mallet Prison. Goodbye.